Well, the holidays are upon us, and that is time now to start the annual pilgrimage to the toy store for Christmas gifts. You know how many toys you buy for your kids and your grandkids, and you know how much those toys cost. So it shouldn't surprise you that American kids get $3 billion in toys, new toys every year. But what might surprise you is how many of those toys are deemed to be unsafe, and they're out there on the store shelves, and eventually they could end up in your home. We have our consumer pro, Janet Sapala, here now to talk more about the issue of unsafe toys this time of year.
And Art, hasn't this been a huge issue in the past few months? And now, because the holiday season is upon us, kids want what?
Toys.
Toys. They want toys, but parents are very nervous about buying their children toys. They want to know who should they buy from, what kinds of toys should they get for their children that are safe.
And so many recalls that you can hardly blame them.
And in light of all these recalls, there's a good reason, as you say, to be nervous. You know, over the last few months alone, toy maker after toy maker, as we've said, has had to pull products off store shelves. Since the beginning of the year, about 72 toys landed on the Consumer Product Safety Commission's recall list, nearly half for high lead levels, like toys made in China colored with lead paint. Attorney Jeffrey Colino filed a class action lawsuit against Mattel for lead-laced toys. Jeffrey, first off, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
You have been involved in dealing with a lot of families who've been directly affected by all these toy recalls. I know you have a real problem beginning with the recall process itself. You say there's not enough notification out there so parents can make wise decisions. Tell us about it.
Well, I've spoken to families all over the country, and they're irate at the situation. They have a toy, they purchase it, they think it's a safe toy, and then they watch the news and they find out that the toy that their child has been playing with is covered in lead paint. And then they're frustrated because they go to a recall list and there are so many toys they can't determine which toy has lead paint, which toy doesn't. They don't know where to go next, and that is a big problem when it comes to the Christmas shopping season. What do parents do? How do they know what toys are safe to buy and what toys are dangerous?
Right, so we know the questions. What are the answers? That's the tough part, obviously.
Yeah, the first answer is the toys that you buy for your children must be tested. Like the food that they put in their mouth, these toys we know they put in their mouth as well, they have to be safe. Ask the retailer that you go to, whether it's Toys R Us or KB Toy Store or Walmart, have you tested these toys? Go to the box, look at the phone number, call the Mattels of the world, call all of the manufacturers. Did you test your toys? Where were they tested? And of course, avoid these high-tech toys we've seen with the Aqua Dots and these shiny lead-painted toys. They're just very dangerous. You have to be extremely careful in what you buy.
And people need to know their legal rights and wrongs, correct?
Absolutely. Parents need to know that they're entitled to have a safe toy for their children. And they feel that the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the regulatory agency in the United States, is being a watchdog. But what they don't know is that agency is woefully inadequate in what they're doing. They don't have the right funding. They don't do third-party testing, there's no mandatory testing, and they don't have stiff penalties that they can enforce. So parents are operating under this false sense of security that the government is doing what they're supposed to. But the reality is we wouldn't have had 20 million recalls this past summer if the government was doing what they're supposed to.
I guess the better news, though, is the fact that the government is sorely aware of this and is working on ways to soup up, if you will, the Consumer Product Safety Commission staff and its budget. So hopefully it'll be able to do a more effective job. But in the meantime, I guess people have to remember there are toys made here in America, that we need to look for those as well.
There is a very small percentage of toys made in America. Unfortunately, the majority of the world's toys are made in China, where they don't pay attention to safety, quality control. They're not concerned about the consequences. They feel unattainable. And this is a convergence of corporate America and the communist country manufacturing these toys without any concern for the consequences.
Of course, Washington now says it would like to give a lot of these countries, including China, incentives to meet U.S. standards before any toys are produced and sent over here. That sounds like a good idea if they can implement it so it does become effective, hopefully.
Indeed, they need to give them incentive. And look at what keeps products safe in America. It's the civil justice system. When we can expose the Chinese manufacturers to our civil justice system, then will they feel accountable and think twice about putting lead paint on a toy or putting profit in front of safety. So we're making a step in the right direction.
All right, so Jeffrey, really the bottom line here is the holiday holiday season is here. Parents are worried. They need to get some hard and fast answers. You've given us some. Make sure these manufacturers and these toy stores have tested these toys. But what else should they know? Should they just stay away from toys? I know there is one important thing to keep in mind, and that is make sure that people buy toys that are suited for that age level, that they're age appropriate, because a lot of problems have happened because 2-year-olds are playing with toys that were made for 6-year-olds, and there's choking hazards.
Well, of course, when parents are buying toys, they can look at a choking hazard and see that for themselves. But what they really want to know about is price doesn't necessarily mean quality. We've seen with the Mattel toys that many of them were very expensive, but turned out to be very dangerous as well. So parents have to use extreme caution. Ask the manufacturer, ask the retailer, check the recall list. Be very careful about the toys that you're going to put under the tree or give to your children this holiday season.
And as you say, limit those high-tech toys. Make sure you know a lot about the toys that your kids are putting in their mouth, just like you know about the foods they're eating. All these things come into play.
Absolutely. And parents need to know that they have a right to safe toys. So when they're picking these toys, don't be shy. Ask the store personnel. Pretend if you were going to buy a gallon of milk, you would look at the label. You would want to see what's in there. Where was it made? Where was it manufactured? These are the types of questions that parents should not feel shy or embarrassed about asking when they get to that toy store.
And I know you have said a great toy is 10% toy and 90% child.
Absolutely. This whole thing about the high-tech toy, that children are seeing it on commercials, we're in part victimized by these commercials that our children are preyed upon. It's all about their imagination. If you have a very expensive, high-tech, gadgety toy, the only thing a child can do is take it apart. You need to have a toy that's going to capture their creativity and their intelligence and not just prey on this high-tech gadgets. And you can have problems like we've seen with the Aquadots that turn into the dangerous toys.
Sometimes the simpler, the better. Less is best. Attorney Jeffrey Colino, thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. And Art, you know, we talked about organic-made toys last week where there's nothing on them. They're made with natural wood. There are no paints, glues, or anything. And kids have they find a way. They have a great time with them. They find a way to have fun with them.
Yeah, if they're fun, the kids will buy them. But what concerns me, and you've reported on this many times, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, they've got the problems of their own. They've been understaffed, and they haven't been as diligent as they could be in checking these toys. And Attorney Colino says, ask the retailer, have they checked? Have they checked? But they're going to say, we're in the business of selling toys, not testing them.
But bottom line is they're not going to sell any toys if people find out that there are problems. So the incentive is there for retailers, for toy manufacturers, to make sure these toys are safe. Otherwise, people are going to find other things to buy to entertain their kids. Right. They want their kids to be safe. That's the bottom line. And you can go up on the Consumer Product Safety Commission's website, cpsc.gov. They have the latest on toy recalls. Mattel.com/safety has a website. And finally, toyportfolio.com publishes a list of toys they've tested and determined to be lead-free. Again, toyportfolio.com.
Okay, that's good information, Janet. We appreciate that, and we will see you again very shortly for All About You.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay, thank you.